Welcome to Focus on Health. Now, yes, I know I'll give a teaser. I won't give another one this time. This is actually the first time that I've had this topic or discussed this topic on my show. We're talking about 8 or 9 years. So you know it must be important, so don't you go nowhere. See you on the other end of this commercial. Welcome back to Focus on Health. All right, I know you've been in suspense, you've been nervous, wondering whether you answer a $64,000 question. To my right, I have Dr. Jonathan Liss, and he has some really good information for you. And so, Doctor, if you can take the time and let everybody know something about you, where you're at brick and mortar, the Google stuff, all that technological stuff, and your ad and your phone number, because they're going to want to contact your office after they see what you have to say.
Pops, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
What an honor to be with you today.
Wow.
What an honor to join your audience today. I feel so privileged. The basic contact information is I'm Dr. Jonathan Liss, L-I-S-S. I run the Columbus Memory Center on the north side of town. It's next to the Social Security office off of Double Churches and Veterans Parkway. Our website is columbusmemorycenter.com. And we are here today. We're going to end up talking about memory and memory disorders. But the message I really want to get to everybody is that we have to take brain health seriously. We have to start making certain that our thinking skills are just as good next year as they were last year. And the only way we can do that is by paying as much attention to the brain as we do the heart. So I'm really grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to just be honest with you, Doctor. The people in the community are going to be grateful to you for all your research and all that you've done for something. And then Councilor Mimi Woodson, you heard her statement.
Yes.
I'm going to allude to that, and we're going to also talk about why this is so important. And so I'm going to pass the baton to you to control the slide.
All right. Well, we've got our first slide, which is just the title slide of Understanding Memory. Memory is an incredibly complex issue that we're going to try and make very simple today, because the brain is an incredibly complex issue that we can also make simple today. So let's go on to the next slide. And just to point out, our mission is to defeat Alzheimer's disease by maintaining independence. So we've got two different prongs to this. We are working so hard to actually end Alzheimer's disease. That's the major form of memory disorder. It's not the only one. We're going to talk about a few others. But for those that have Alzheimer's disease and we can't keep it from ever starting, our job is to maintain as much independence as possible, maintain the individual, keep that person as the head of their family, the head of their community, the go-to person in their circle. And that's our goal. And so we're doing everything we can possible to make that happen. We're doing a lot of world-class research to slow down this disease, and we're certainly using all the proven tools that are available to us. So let's go to the next slide if we could. So there's generally three things that people discuss with memory. The first one is that kind of worried well moment, the senior moment, right? And certainly I didn't name this. These are older folks that came up with this charming thing. They can't come up with a word. A memory is a little slow to come. They want to get a concept.
Amen, amen, and amen again.
Pops, you're the greatest orator I've ever known. So I got to tell you, I don't think you could be 200 years old, I don't think it'll hit you. But for the rest of us, we do actually, try and get a word out sometimes. And I want people out there to know that that's a normal part of aging. It's even not necessarily aging. I've had some of that my whole life. But so when you struggle over finding a word or somebody familiar to you, the name is just not coming straight to your head, or you're driving and you go from point A to point B and you don't really remember how you got from point A to point B because you've done it 1,000 times, those are senior moments. Those aren't illness. Those are everything. So take a deep breath.
So I told you you're going to be getting some really good information. And before I forget this here, at the end of this show, the doctor has written a booklet that I have passed so many of them out that have been a blessing. In case you might forget what the doctor's saying now, that's really going to be a blessing to you. So I'm going to try to make myself a little, I say I do little mental things. I'm going to put this to the side just to remind me before the end of the show for you to go to his brick and mortar location and get this booklet. It's a godsend. Thank you.
Well,
Dr.
thank you. And let me tell you, Pops, we made it even easier. We made it as a free flip book on our website. So they can just go to columbusmemorycenter.com, and I think in exchange for your email, you'll get a copy of it just on your computer.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so really easy. But we do have copies at our brick and mortar. Feel free to stop by and get that. And we're going to talk about actually simple ways to check your memory, which will require stopping by somebody's brick and mortar. We'll talk about that just a second. So the first category that we wanted to talk about was senior moments, because I want everybody to be able to take a deep breath. We all have those moments where we don't remember quite the way we should, right? And so there's a lapses of attention, a missed thought, a word-finding problem. Let's go to the next slide, which is now a really important general concept and a little bit harder to get to, which is called mild cognitive impairment, MCI. And I'm going to tell you that this is a difficult concept because we have not done a good job even training other doctors in this.
Okay.
This is a relatively new concept. It's maybe 10 years old. And when it first came out, we kind of launched it. When I say we, as a medical profession, we launched it, but we didn't have a good definition of it. I think the best way to define mild cognitive impairment is simply to say, not at the top of your game. That he or she is not thinking as sharply as he or she otherwise could.
It's easy.
That's easy.
And I'm going to tell you, it's easy, and it's so easy to concept in your mind.
Well,
just like physically, I used to play tennis. Guess what? I'm definitely not. But guess what? It's not. It's noted. It's supposed to be because I'm still functional.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to encapsulate.
Yeah, just not at the top of your game. So if you're not at the top of your game, you would qualify for this diagnosis, this general umbrella of mild cognitive impairment. And then somebody like me, a memory specialist like me, is supposed to help you figure out why you're not at the top of your game. Many of them, I would say frankly, most of the time they're correctable. Most of the time they have things to do with concentration, that a person has some depression so they can't think straight, or they have anxiety so they can't think straight, or they have a pain syndrome so they can't think straight, or they have sleep apnea. There's lots and lots of things, medication side effects. As a doctor, I'm guilty of it, just like all my colleagues, adding too many medicines. So you know, sometimes we're trying to do our best, but the overall collection of medicines make us less well than we should be, right? So we have to look at all those things. And by the way, each person needs to be in charge of their own health care. So make certain you know why you're on each of your medicines. Make certain that you've discussed each one with your doctor, because maybe not all of them are necessary. But anyway, those things are all possible causes of mild cognitive impairment. And the area that I particularly specialize in is prodromal Alzheimer's disease, on the pathway towards Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, thank you.
And this was the major breakthrough in medicine about 10 or 15 years ago. Before, when somebody came in to see me, I would say, gosh, I'm a little worried about you. Let's look year to year. Let's see how you're doing, those kinds of things. Now, because of the breakthroughs in medical technology, we can actually determine whether somebody is on the pathway to Alzheimer's disease before they get it. We can actually painlessly look into the brain. It's a remarkable achievement.
Doctor, that is a remarkable achievement, something like that. This, even though I thought I knew all of you, this is awesome.
Yeah,
that,
it is.
That now, because I know you normally would have to wait and ask questions, now you can actually definitively.
We can definitively,
tell someone. So
we
that's
can look.
awesome.
I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, and we don't always have to. We have lots of different tools, but you know, in this day and age, just to give you a sense, without pain, without risk to a patient, we can measure the weight of their brain. We can look at the different sections that are responsible for memory. We can tell how thick they are. We can certainly always have been able to say, or for many years, been able to see a stroke or things like that. But now we can actually get individual slices without hurting anybody whatsoever with a picture, right?
That is awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
And that's an awesome breakthrough.
It is.
And information really that our public needs to know and don't have access to. You know what? I'm getting kind of happy. This is good news here that we're hearing from Dr. And so you will know, he is, talk about being at the top of the game. He is on the top of the game to Alzheimer's research. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll see you on the other end of this commercial. Welcome back, and I know I'm learning some stuff off camera. Dr. Liss is just taking me from kindergarten to I think I may be about high school level right now. So, Doctor, I'm going to let you take over the slides like you did before.
You are the most humble person in the world. You are the professor. You are the professor. So I'm not doing that. If we were going through our categories, we talked about senior moments, we talked about mild cognitive impairment, and now we're going to talk about dementia. That's the term that most people know. And then everybody always asks, Doctor, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease, okay? And I know that we're going to have to say it 500 times. My mother, may she rest in peace, she was not demented. She must have asked me this twice a year for 25 years. But dementia is a category. Remember I said mild cognitive impairment is a category. It's a category, and then there's an umbrella, and things are underneath it. So dementia means that a person has thinking troubles, okay? They could be correctable or not correctable. They typically involve short-term memory loss, right? So not who was I as a child, not who did I marry or how my kids were raised, but did I eat a moment ago? Did I take my medications? Do I remember what the doctor said to me yesterday? When I talked to my daughter, did I call back and do it again? Okay, short-term memory issues. So it typically affects short-term memory issues. It affects your life in some other way, such as the inability to do some of the things that you used to do well, balance a checkbook, drive to the grocery store, make a recipe, something that takes, kind of a collection of thoughts. We call that executive functioning, and it impacts your life. That's dementia. So if we look at dementia, you could have dementia in 100 different ways. We all unfortunately know that poor kid that was involved in a terrible accident when he was 12 and he was never right again.
Yes.
That kid is demented, right? But that kid, as he grows to be a man, is not going to be any worse than he was when he was 12. He got that terrible thing at 12, and that's who he is. Now, Alzheimer's disease is a progressive loss of short-term memory that affects your abilities. So with Alzheimer's disease, you have this short-term memory deficit, and it gradually gets worse over time. You could have dementia from overuse of alcohol or drugs. You could have it from other diseases like Parkinson's disease or occasionally multiple sclerosis. But 2/3 of all older folks that have dementia have Alzheimer's disease. So let me do it slowly. Dementia is a category. One of those lists under dementia is Alzheimer's disease. Okay? Just like if you play sports, if you're a sports person, then you are a sports person, but it doesn't say which sport you're in, right? So if you have dementia, but it doesn't say which one. 2/3 of those, if you're an older adult, is going to be Alzheimer's disease. So, and that's what we specialize in, and that's the disease that we need to stop more than any other because it affects so many people, and it becomes more and more common as we age. Next slide when you're ready. So that's just listing the issues of Alzheimer's, of dementia. Let's go to the next slide too. And it just lists the stages. So with mild disease, a person with mild disease can usually cover it up. The family often doesn't want to face the issue. Usually a lot of humor is played, right? Somebody makes a mistake, they laugh about it, right? And that's for two reasons. One is the defense mechanisms that each one of us doesn't want to be ill, and the loving family who never wants to believe their loved one is ill.
Would you repeat that, Doctor? Because that's significant what you're talking about now.
It is. It is a sense of love that breeds denial. And the denial, unfortunately, is not a healthy thing, right?
That is exactly
right. The family's a healthy thing, but the denial is not.
That is exactly right.
And so if you or your loved one is having some small problems and you're older, older, what do we define that as? I don't know. Above 65, that's something that should be checked out. It may simply be a concentration deficit, a senior moment, mild cognitive impairment, but if you're on the pathway towards Alzheimer's disease, that's when you want to do something about it. That's when you want to catch it, right? And then moderate stage disease, typically people know it. In other words, you can't hide it anymore. You're still very functional, but somebody may have to help with certain things.
Sure.
You balance the checkbook or watch a little bit in the kitchen, those kinds of things. And then with severe disease, that's the people that we all know need tremendous care.
Sure.
And let me just say this, Pops, because you've spent your life helping the community. I mean, everything you do is helping our families in Columbus. Let me just have an appeal here. If you know somebody who's caring for a person who's disabled, doesn't have to be Alzheimer's disease, but with Alzheimer's disease, that's what we're really talking about today. Please lend a helping hand. You cannot imagine the amount of effort that goes into helping somebody like that. They need every bit of emotional and physical and financial support that they can get. And it usually falls, there could be 6 kids, but it usually falls on the shoulders of one.
Of one. And I see that, thank you so much, Dr. Liss, for bringing that up, because that's a reality. I see it in the community. affecting putting a lot of people's lives on lockdown.
Lockdown.
They don't mind it, but I look at these individuals and I see that their lives are on a standstill. And we're going to talk, because I know Councilor Woodson shared some things, so I can talk on TV that it's a slow, as she said, you watch your loved ones die slowly.
Yes.
And so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's just so important. And I have to say that the caregiver typically puts on an incredible face. They really do. But they are deteriorating. They're deteriorating physically, emotionally, financially.
Yes.
We just have to help them. We got to get them resources to help. And let me say, Pops, that only 50% of people and families that have Alzheimer's disease get diagnosed. And out of those 50%, only about 10 or 12% ever go to the Alzheimer's Association for all of their free help. You know, it's all free.
But doctor, that's something that area, when you're comfortable, I want you to emphasize and emphasize again, because the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it's true. Education is huge as far as wellness is concerned.
Yeah. Teaching a person to fish as opposed to giving them
that
fish.
is exactly right. It's exactly the case. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But I do want to, the topic that we discussed off camera, I'm so glad you're going to be getting to that slide, because that's extremely important.
Yeah, I think it might even be the next slide, Pops. Let's see. Can we go to the next slide? It might be. Okay, well, first of all, let me just say this. Take a deep breath. That 1/3 of all dementias are preventable. 1/3. Imagine, it's in our hands.
Now that's huge.
It is. It's in your hands, it's in my hands to take care of our brains. And so let's go to the next slide. I just put up a few things that make sense. Everybody knows this, but not everybody practices this. So our motto, first of all, at the Columbus Memory Center is be smarter tomorrow than you were yesterday. All right?
Oh, I like that. Let me ask you a question now. How long did it take for you to think of that little catchphrase?
About 55 years, right?
That is so neat.
Yeah, well, I believe it and I practice it. I want you to find your passion and do something every day that you didn't know about it yesterday, right? My personal passion is history. I read history every single day, okay?
That's awesome.
And so I want everybody to do that, because it turns out that education, you just mentioned this, but education is preventive against Alzheimer's disease. The more education you have, the longer it will take for Alzheimer's disease to show its ugly face.
That's
okay?
awesome.
So that's great.
Awesome.
The next stuff on the slide really talks about all the stuff that everybody knows about, and they kind of don't want to hear about it, but it's just whatever is good for the heart is good for the brain. So not smoking, taking care of your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your diabetes, getting some reasonable exercise. And by the way, I got some good news about exercise, at least as it relates to Alzheimer's disease. All we're asking for Alzheimer's care is a 20-minute brisk walk 3 times per week, okay?
Are you serious?
That's it. 20 minutes, 3 times a week.
A 20-minute brisk walk
3 times
three
per week.
times a week?
Yeah, that's been shown to actually help drain the brain of the proteins that cause this disease. So
now that's awesome.
Easy, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't kill you from a heart attack, take a brisk walk 3 times a week, right? You know, and then, of course, quit smoking and start working on these. These issues are all solvable, okay? You just have to decide that you are worth it, and you are worth it, right?
That's exactly
Let's go to the next slide when you're ready. So the Columbus Memory Project, and this is something that I have to thank you, Pops, the mayors, both the prior and the current mayor, and all of City Council. They have been our partner along with the State Alzheimer's Association. We have been trying to test every single senior's cognition for memory loss and thinking loss for free every year. So here's the thing, and this is the easy thing, that right now only 12 to 14% of the American population gets a thinking test each year. We're talking about seniors, okay? And a thinking test is paid for by Medicare. Your doctor is capable of providing it. So at your wellness check, please ask for a thinking test as part of your regular checkup. It's there for you. It's supposed to be there for you. We've made it even easier, okay? In partnership with the city, in partnership with the State Alzheimer's Association, we have invented something called the memory number. It's the first ever vital sign for the brain. And at the Columbus Memory Center, you can come in any day that we're there. There's no appointment necessary. There is no cost, and you don't get a doctor out of it. You'll spend about 10 minutes filling out paperwork. The paperwork basically says, hey, he's not your doctor, all right?
Okay.
And then at the end of that, you will take a test. It's not timed, so you don't have to be nervous about it. Fast test takers take it in 15 minutes. Slow test takers take it in 30 minutes. And then you will have your memory number. And what we want you to do is be able to compare it year to year. That way, and this is really important, Pops, as people get older, one of the things they talk about in a group of, let's just say 6 senior citizens is their memory. They're all kind of worried, has it affected me, right? If you get your memory number every year, you can sit in that group, but you don't have to worry. Because you'll be looking at your memory number from the year before, the year before, the year before. You'll know that you're okay, right?
That's awesome.
Isn't it? And if you're not okay, if it's slipping a little bit, probably it's something correctable. What a great opportunity to correct it. And if, by gosh, you end up on the pathway towards Alzheimer's disease, we've got more and more things to do about it. So there's no reason to run from it.
Okay, doctor, while we're here, and because I should have done this earlier, I want you to look in there and tell everyone how that they can get in touch with you. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because I know I'm going to hear after this program, Pops, I want to be able to take that. How do I do it? So I want you to be able to look in there and tell them how to contact you again, where your brick and mortar's at. I also like for you to give them the emails or website address
we'll do that,
and all that right in there.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Pops. So ColumbusMemoryCenter.com is our website. Our address is 7196 North Lake Drive, but it's easiest to remember that we're right next to the Social Security office.
That's bingo.
On Double Churches, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, right next to it. And our phone number, 706-327-4000. So we got an easy phone number to remember. But let me just say, the memory number is easy. Come in at your convenience. Come in when you're having a good day and just pop in and say, I want to take my memory number. And before the pandemic, and we'll do it again after the pandemic, we were actually making this, we're taking it to churches and leaving the apparatus in churches so that people could do it anytime they want in their local community. We had to back off, right, because of the pandemic, but we'll be back out in your community center. If you want the memory number in your community center or your church, just let us know. We'll arrange it.
I didn't know that. You're educating me about this, and it's very, very, very important. Would you repeat again the fact that just like you can go to your doctor and say, by the way, I want to be, could you do a consult for podiatry? You can also tell your doctor that you want to have a test.
Yeah, you got to remember things. So just to go through it, that having a thinking test is considered standard care that should happen every year for every senior. And only about 12 to 14% of seniors are getting it.
And do you know why that is, doctor? Because I did not know it until you told me when we were on break. I think it's because the people, they just don't know that this is an advantage to have something like that.
Yeah, and I think people are scared. I think, for whatever reason, people want to know if they're about to get a heart attack, they'll go to the hospital, right?
Right.
But people are scared of somebody saying that you're not as sharp as you once were. But the reality is, for so many of you, we can make you sharp again.
That's exactly. Give me that little catchy expression. I want you to be smarter.
I want everybody to be smarter tomorrow than they were yesterday.
I'm going to steal that expression.
It's yours. It's yours.
Okay. This is fun. And you're learning a whole bunch of stuff. You see, you got a little van here.
Yeah, that was a reminder that after the pandemic, we come out to churches, we come out to community groups, we give talks about, just like we're sitting here, we give those talks, and we have the electronic ability and also the paper, just regular papers, for people to take the memory number and in their own location without having to come out to our office. Wow. So these are all possible. I just wanted to put that van up to let you know that we're part of this community. We feel so grateful to be part of the Columbus community. And by the way, it's not just Columbus, it's the region, right?
No,
it's anybody that can hear our voices.
Sure.
And so it's all free. You're all welcome to it. We are so grateful to the public for trusting us. We want to reward that trust and give back to the community.
You can't get any better than that.
So the last thing I wanted to mention is memory research opportunities. And memory research opportunities, and I say this sounds kind of arrogant. I don't want it to be that way. I don't want to sound like that person. But I feel very prideful that we bring world-class memory research to Columbus, Georgia. We have the same research, and actually sometimes more research, than Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Emory University, UAB, you choose it. We offer the exact same trials, and we actually beat them all. And the reason why we do is a couple of things. One, we work hard, but so do they. But number two is that in a community like ours, I can touch everybody. There's not more than 2 degrees of separation between myself and for Pops, 1 degree of separation between them. But we know everybody, right? So we get people, and we get them early, and we can help them learn about their brain health. And if they so desire and want to join our research trials, then they have the opportunity. I will tell you, March 7th is a big day. the first drug in the history of the world, may or may not, it may not, but may get approved by the FDA that dramatically slows Alzheimer's disease, but only at the very beginning stage.
That's awesome.
So March 7th, we'll know, okay? We helped bring this drug to this point. We have a whole bunch of other drugs just like it that we're working on and rolling every day. And so if you have a memory disorder related to Alzheimer's disease, we almost certainly have standard care plus research opportunities to do everything under the sun that you could get anywhere in the world. And frankly, here in Columbus, more than almost every other place in the world.
And I'm going to tell you something else, because you brought up something about Columbus. We're closer. People can come to right there next to the Social Security office, but this is the most important thing. Doctor, that I want you to repeat two things, and we're going to close with you giving your information, is I want you to a senior can ask for this when they have their regular physical. Nothing intrusive just ask for this when you go, and we seniors have a annual physical. Not talking about the every 90-day thing, but you could do that then. The average senior, and I know you know this, doctor, goes to their practitioner every 90 days, no more than 120 days. I do as well. At any of those times, you can say that to your physician. And doctor, I want you, the verbiage, I want you just to say again so that they will know. I know my audience. They will write it down. They tell me, Pops, I didn't understand what was going on in the morning around at 8:30, but at 7:30 when the show came on, I was ready for it and I wrote it down. So would you just repeat what they need to say when they're getting their physical?
Yeah, so tell the nurse, frankly, that when you make your appointment for your annual physical, tell them that you would like to have a thinking test as part of your examination.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. And for the final thing that before we exit out, because I think that was the last slide. Was that the last slide?
It is now.
No. Is there another
I don't know.
one?
I don't know if there's another slide. Oh, I just wanted to mention this is really important because we're sitting on a stage here. You are not just a leader of the city, but a leader of a minority community, correct?
Yes.
And we know that over the decades, over the many centuries, that minorities have not been treated well.
Right.
And because of that, there has been a very legitimate reason to be suspicious of medical procedures and everything else related to society and government, right?
Right.
So, but I want you to know that we work very hard to respect everybody. And as a research community worldwide, we know that if minorities do not participate in research, that the results will not represent that particular community.
Right.
We have to have everybody volunteer.
That's exactly right.
And I just want you to know we feel very grateful to the community here because I think we've got that trust. I think we've earned that trust.
Yes.
But I want you to know you have a right to ask any question that you want to ask. You have a right to be fully informed. And so we just need every community to participate. Otherwise, do the results really count? No.
Will be skewed, yes.
They'd be skewed.
Again, as a final note, let them know how to contact you. That is really important.
So our phone number, 706-327-4000. Our website, columbusmemorycenter.com. We're sitting next to the Social Security office on Double Churches.
Doctor, let me tell you, I did not tell you. I said it was something I've never had. No, it's very novel. No, we also had a lot of fun. I knew, I've known Dr. Liss for a long time. I knew we were going to have some fun on this program, but I also knew that we were going to give a lot of good information out to the community, information that you need to know. And so I'm just so thankful, Dr. Liss, for you taking the time.
I'm thankful, thank you.
I always like to mention Mr. Mike King, who is the producer. He is the one that stopped me 8 or 9 years ago, said, why don't you do a thing on health? So Mr. Mike King, these are a huge, a lion's share of this program. I'd also like to thank the city manager, Mr. Isaiah Hughley, and of course the mayor, the Honorable Skip Henderson. Until next time, like I always say, please be good and kind to yourself because God loves you. Bye-bye.